This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Have you ever wondered how some people make eating healthy, exercise, and managing stress look so easy? You can too. Welcome to Wellness Wisdom, where we uncover the secrets to lasting health and happiness and empower you to make wise health choices, see results, and create a healthy lifestyle for good. Join Camille Kennard, licensed social worker, certified health and wellness coach, a self-care specialist on the journey to explore how to make health and well-being possible for you. It's a health and wellness journey you can take together. Please welcome your host, Camille Kennard.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Wellness Wisdom. It's March. It's the end of March, so spring fever, spring is in the air. And this month, we're really talking about mindfulness and the way we take care of ourselves, and also how do we motivate ourselves to really do the things it takes to take care of our body. And you guys are going to love the conversation that we're having today with Lana Nelson. Lana is an intuitive food healer. That's the way I kind of think of it, is like she's an intuitive about food. Lana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Camille. It's wonderful to be here. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you today and getting some of the messages out there and extending those messages that you are doing so beautifully.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so fun how people just email me and find me on the internet or whatever, and then we connect. Lana's actually my neighbor up in Montana, just north of me. So
yes.
It's really fun to connect with people who have like-minded passions and that. But let me tell you a little bit about Lana Nelson. She shatters the myth of diets that they are not one size fits all. We're going to be able to talk a little bit more about that today. I'm so excited. She went on her own health journey, where she was diagnosed with an incurable illness, and she dealt with years of chronic pain. And so that made her decide I need to find a solution to this. And so after years of trial and error, she discovered the solution was as close as her kitchen cabinets and her refrigerator. It was the food, right?
Right.
So she went from daily pain to living pain-free. And now she's determined to share her message near and far with thousands of people every year about how they can heal themselves with food. And she's developed one of the easiest techniques on the planet to help anyone discover what foods are really good for you. Good for you personally. And I love that, because I really do believe health is an individual process, for each of us. Lana has used this technique since the 90s, and she's an emotional and intuitive holistic energy practitioner. She's a licensed massage therapist, a Reiki master teacher, and quantum biofeedback therapist. She counsels people in nutritional, herbal, and homeopathic therapies. Her focus is on individuals, couples, and families who struggle with food, health, and emotional problems. And that could be all of us out there, right? That we struggle in some way or another.
You are totally right. That's really all encompassing, Camille.
Yeah. And I love this, and I love what you're doing. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the food codes, which has kind of been your brainchild as far as how to help people recognize their relationship to food and being that intuitive side of that your body knows what it needs, which is, that's what I teach people too, is that if we listen, our body can tell us a lot of things.
So true.
So tell me a little bit about you. You mentioned in your bio that you went through years of a chronic illness. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what started you on your health journey.
All right. Well, many years ago, I actually was a dental lab owner. I was in the cutting edge field of prosthetic dentistry, and so I owned a dental lab. I was on my way early one morning to take some dentures to a prosthodontist, so a lady could have a beautiful smile. And on the way, there was a wreck in front of me, and I had to slow down. And when that happened, a semi-truck crashed into the back of my small delivery car.
Oh, wow.
And fast forward that to 10 years, I had head injuries, head and neck injuries. The front of the whole top of my little car was crinkled from the impact. And so I suffered with head and neck injuries. I went through the medical route first, just purely medical. And about maybe the third neurologist that I had gone to for severe headache pains, constant pains with headache. And actually, if you go to, you fill out one of those little forms when you go to the doctor or someone, and where's your pain? It was like the bottom of my feet to the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
And my neck was pretty much frozen. And so one of my doctors said, I really think you should see a chiropractor. Maybe that would help some with your neck and, with the whiplash and so on. So I thought, my mom saw a chiropractor when I was little. And so I did. I made an appointment with a chiropractor, and that helped. It didn't get it all the way sometimes, but it helped me the most. And so I started on my path of seeking natural remedies and so forth. I went to massage about 3 times a week. And I still, going to massage, I started thinking about food at that time. And like I said, this was in the late 80s. And, I started taking nutrition, like handfuls of nutrition and so forth. And I said to my friend one day, I started juicing. Okay. And that was really, really weird at that time. If you think about back in the late 80s, early 90s, even yoga was, a strange thing. Now it's incorporated in hospitals and in our daily practices and so forth. So juicing was really weird back then. So I won't go into some of those stories. It was kind of horrible. Juicing like an entire head of cabbage with garlic and then knocking it back. Don't ever try that.
That sounds pretty intense.
It rejects. This rejects it. But I tried different things, and I said to a friend one day, I should marry a chiropractor. I'm seeing one 3 times a week. And we just giggled, giggle. But what you're thinking about does bring about. I met a wonderful man on a blind date who turned out to be a chiropractor who specialized in fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. And I had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and told by my chiropractor, by many doctors, that's what you're going to have to live with. And there really is nothing that can be done with that. So just be able to manage the pain. Well, fast forwarding, this wonderful doctor was Dr. Bruce Nelson, and he specialized in fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. And within about 2 weeks of that blind date and him pretty much working on me, I was completely out of pain. Wow. Amazing thing. So we actually got married. We joined 2 families. I happened to have 12 children. He had 6, I had 6.
Oh,
and
wow.
So we joined these wonderful families. And then I eventually, about 6 years later, I kept my dental practice for a while, but I morphed into really working with my husband. And he had people come to his office in Montana from all over the country, United States, Canada, and some foreign countries, to be healed basically from these dread diseases, so to speak. And one day I said to him, I think we're missing the food part of this, because, and so he used muscle testing in his practice. Are you familiar with that, Camille?
I am.
Okay. Well, it's a practice of asking the subconscious mind what the body really needs, or what is going on with the body, like what's causing this really bad pain in my neck. And it could be anything from your stomach to your head or even your toes. But so with that, he taught me his method, and I mentioned that in my book. I mention all of this in my book, but I learned to do muscle testing, and I thought, okay, I'm going to test each of our patients, our very ill patients, for what are their best foods for healing and what foods they need to stay away from. So that's really how my testing of food and my intuition with food came about. So over the past many years, I've worked with lots of people in testing what their body really wants and needs. And I have more on that if you want me to tell that, but I'll turn the time back over to you now.
So it's your body talking to you, right? That our body
Yes.
actually knows in the subconscious mind. Thank you for explaining that a bit about the muscle testing, because I have had it done and I know about it, but I know people out there might be like, well, what exactly is that? But it's like recognizing that our body actually, there's that intuition of what we need, and a lot of times we don't listen to it, right? Yes. We're kind of busy in our lives, we're not listening to what it's saying. So can you tell me a little bit more about what your story is? Like, did you change the way you were eating, or did you start listening more to your intuition? Tell me a little bit about what was going on with you. I know you went to the chiropractor, but tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, so with eating, before I met my husband, I actually was trying, I had also been diagnosed with diverticulitis and so forth, and I just started experimenting with food. It was before I knew about, using my intuition so well, and especially with muscle testing. I started I went on juice fasts, I went on different types of cleanses, and I read and read and read many books. And so I was utilizing some of that working with my husband and his patients. But then the muscle testing is like a lie detector test, okay? So it accesses your subconscious mind by a yes or no yes question or a no question. And you'll get that from your brain if you ask a yes or no answer. So I started using this with myself as well and testing my best foods. I started working with my family first and friends and testing best foods and worst foods, foods to stay out of. And actually, I wrote a book first that I took the many sessions that I had done with people, and I looked at all their best foods and their worst foods. And so I fashioned a diet, if you will, from the best foods, from the sickest people. Okay, so the foods that were on their best list, and then to stay away from the foods on the worst list. But the problem was this particular diet. So my husband and I went on this particular diet of only eating the best foods, the top foods gleaned from these sessions. And my husband did fabulous with it. It was beautiful food. It was mostly organic. It was mostly vegetable, some meat and so forth. But my husband my husband dropped weight. He got he loved it. His body loved it. And my body did not. I lost energy. I felt sicker and sicker. And I actually developed some sores around my mouth. And so with that, I realized I had to test my own foods, and everyone needs to test their own foods. I couldn't just put another diet out there because it was going to help someone like it did my husband. It wasn't going to help me. So some people were going to benefit and some were not. So I thought, oh my goodness, I need to teach people how to test their own foods because I can't work with everybody on the planet. But getting the word of mouth out like you are can reach everyone on every part of the globe. So that is how I decided to utilize. And I will tell you, using my food plan and testing my personal foods, I've actually dropped or gotten rid of or lost, however you want to say it, 40 pounds. Since then, my body has become healthy and youthful. And really, people don't realize I'm a great grandma because, I can zip up and down the stairs and run with my grandchildren and, and I'm in good health, in full health.
That's really quite a transformational story to go from fibromyalgia, which from what I understand, there's a lot of fatigue, some pain, and different things like that, right, with the fibromyalgia, and then to be able to release weight and have more energy. Was there other things that you were noticing? So right now, do you have any of those symptoms of fibromyalgia, or is it completely
No.
gone?
I have not had symptoms of fibromyalgia for 25 years.
Wow.
My husband and I have been married for, 25 years. So that's actually about 26 years because we dated for a while beforehand. But no, I have not. I've had full range of motion in my neck and, energy, etc. So it's a really happily ever after story. He healed my body and he healed my heart.
I love that. You never know what blind dates will turn out to be. You might find your next chiropractor, right? Your next
You might find the love of your life.
Yeah, that you can have these synergistic conversations with. And I love that. And I love that it's customized and individualized. I've always, the reason I started my podcast is I thought, it'd be really cool to have one place that people can go to learn about a lot of different types of interventions and ideas about wellness. And maybe it works for one person and it doesn't for another, because I believe in that. And I love the idea of it's customized, that you could look at your own body and do your own testing to say, these are the foods that I need. It's not the same as the foods that my husband needs or someone else might need, but it's what my body needs.
Well, and here's the thing as well. Our bodies are energetic, as you always mention. Our bodies are we're energy beings. So we are interfacing every moment, every second of the day with our environment, whether it's hot or cold or seasonal, or no matter what might be going on inside our body. Have we developed a little cold or something like that? So you can actually test what foods you need for how I'm feeling right now. Would I like to, am I having some pain someplace in my body? Am I a runner? Do I need to get fit for this next race? And do I need something for seasonal changes? So you can test for yourself, how long, so you can test not only your best foods and the foods to stay away from, you can test how long am I going to need this? How long does my body need these particular foods? So, and that could go anywhere from 3 months to 3 weeks, depending on what's going on, and especially the stressors in your environment. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've heard that before, that, there's seasonal things that we need, because right here in Montana and Utah, we're getting a good winter this year.
Yes.
And your body needs different things. I've heard of root vegetables and some of that kind of stuff is what our body is craving. So that's really amazing that your body might need different things. Even when you're sick, it might need something different.
Yes. Awesome. And your body will tell you that those cravings that you're talking about. I've heard people say, I just went from, I was loving the salad so much with my summertime. And all of a sudden it was like, wow, I want some root vegetables. I passed a roadside stand and I bought cabbages and beets and carrots and potatoes. And so, yes, your body will tell you that. And you will crave too, oftentimes, what your body needs. That's your inner knowing.
That makes sense. Craving is the inner knowing. That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else that you want to share about your journey that you feel like is important, like what you learned from going through it yourself?
I learned a lot of compassion with so many what is called diseases, and medical profession. I'm not knocking them. There is total, I totally honor the medical profession, and there is need for that. But each of us, and I've worked with thousands of people over the many years. I actually have clients on 6 of 7 continents that I've worked with. And with that, I've had people say, okay, I was diagnosed with this condition or this disease, and then I went to another professional, and he said, oh, no, or she said, no, you have this. And they will come away with many, many different diagnoses. So it can be, it's just a name. It's because working with people, in my husband's office in Montana, people with fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue, they would have a spectrum of anywhere from a mold infection to B deficiencies and to bones out of a place or alignment, and be diagnosed with the same condition. So, but not everyone, very few, had all exactly the same things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that really does. And I think there's a lot of people that are confused when they have, some illness that they've gone to 4 or 5 different specialists and no one can figure it out, and there's, like you say, there might be different things that they're experiencing. And I love that we're not telling people that, oh, if you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia, this is how you are, or this is, that you're putting people into a specific class or whatever.
Despair as well. There's no hope for this. You just have to learn to manage the pain.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's true. I've not had to manage my pain. I've had to manage my funness, from being out of pain and so forth. But yes, that's what I believe.
Oh, I love that. Well, we're going to take, this is so great. We're going to take a quick little break. And when we get back, I would love for you to start talking a little bit more about, I know the food codes is what you actually started, your own way of helping people really with that intuition with their body and foods. I would love for you to talk to us a little bit more about that when we get back.
All right. Thanks. I will.
Do you feel stressed, overweight, and unhappy? Are you tired of setting goals that you don't accomplish? Do you want more energy, motivation, and focus to create your dreams? Many people struggle to keep up the commitment, motivation, and confidence to be successful, to reach their goals and aspirations. They often let other things get in the way of their personal health and happiness. It doesn't have to be this way. You can change. Join us for a 6-week online health transformation workshop. Learn about the mind-body connection, overcome obstacles to health, create daily health rituals, get support from others like you, and change your life for good. Register now at flourishwellnessconsulting.com under online group workshops or email Camille at flourishwellnessconsulting.com. Our gift to you as a podcast listener is $50 off the transformation workshop. Use the promo code podcast50 when you register. This new year, make peace with your body and like who you are for good.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wellness Wisdom. This is awesome. We're having such a great conversation about how our body knows what foods we need. And if it's that we're maybe sick or it's the winter time, what foods do we need? And I'm talking to Lana Nelson, who has developed her own program called the Food Codes, where it takes you through that intuitive side of yourself in muscle testing and energy to figure out what it is that your body needs. So I love this. I think this is so amazingly powerful. And Lana, I would love for you to talk to us a little bit about, what you do with the food codes, how you help people really just, what your program does for people.
Okay. At the very basics, my mission is to help people realize and get back to your first relationship, okay? It's a relationship book, and this is about your first relationship, which is with food. When you're developing in the womb, it depends on your mother's health for some time before that, how a baby's health can be. So how she was eating and the nutrition she was taking in. And then as you develop in the womb, this little baby, you will actually take or utilize your mother's nutrition if you're not getting enough of that. And so our first relationship is with food. As you're born, you're put to suckle at your mother's breast, if you're the lucky one, instead of getting a bottle of formula. But food is our first relationship. And if you think about this, a baby as it is, it will only take so much of its bottle until it's full and then refuse. Okay, a little child, if you try to overfeed a child or feed them when they're not hungry, you're going to get spat at. You're going to get right in the face, okay, or a dish thrown on the floor. So what has happened to us, I do believe, is we've lost our relationship with food as we've grown older due to well-meaning parents who make us clean our plates or eat when we're not hungry and so forth, or eat things we don't even like. We lose what we like and what we don't. And then diets have been in since before our grandmothers, okay?
Yeah.
Dieting. And dieting has driven us to fear, desperation, and hatred of ourselves and our relationship with food, okay? A study done in asking Western world people what their first inclination is with cake was like despair or hatred or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. I've got to memorize that. But asking the French what their, a piece of cake meant to them, it was fun, party, deliciousness. We don't think that. It's like, I can't. So my book is really about getting back to your relationship with food. And in that, we have to relearn basically when we're really hungry and when we're full, because we've lost that. Maybe you don't need 3 meals a day. Maybe some days you need 4 or 5 if you're really needing extra nutrition. And I recently had a client who had taken on a diet regime. He and his wife had in their 50s or 60s, had taken on a diet regime where you don't eat for many, many hours. You fast for long periods of time, and then you eat certain things. And he had a blackout and a wreck due to not eating for so long. Anyway, they could find nothing wrong with him. But back to that, in my book, I teach you how to very, very simply muscle test. And I give you pictures and everything else. It's really simple to do. And how to develop that intuition again. And know when you're full and when you're hungry. And a little story about me first realizing that. I had a cup of chicken noodle soup, probably just even out of a can. And even though I do make my own, but I had this little cup of soup, and I was determining to know when I was full. So I was very mindfully, just lovingly, I prayed and blessed it, and I'm eating this bowl of soup, spoonful by spoonful, and all of a sudden I'm at the bottom of the cup, and it was like a click and lock feeling in my body. And it was, that's enough. And I looked in the bottom of the cup and I thought, oh, there's just a couple more sips here. I could easily eat that. And my inner child, my inner knower, whatever, my inner food wisdom said, no more. I got up and I poured the rest of it down the disposal. And it was one of the most freeing things I have done, learning when I was full. So from then, I decided you can actually test. So then, test like muscle testing. Am I full yet? And you are full actually long before your satiety checks in. And then oftentimes with that, we overeat and feel miserable and have digestive problems and so forth. So you can actually learn to, through some of my instructions, how to know when you're hungry, how to know when you're full, and when to stop eating. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah. It's for so many years, I think people have thought, that they can't stop themselves sometimes, or that they're not in tune with that physiological part that says I'm full. A lot of my clients have said that to me. They're like, I can't tell when I'm full. So I think this thing of muscle testing is kind of like, maybe they cognitively in their brain are like, I can't tell. But with the muscle testing, it's saying subconsciously, you do know what it feels like when you're full or when you're hungry. And I love that idea of the baby, it spits the food out when it's ready, when it's full, when it's done, and I think it's intuitive, because our society has gone away from listening to ourselves, right? We're distracted. Yes. We eat a bowl of popcorn as we're watching a movie and not even realize what our body's feeling or what it's experiencing. So I think that's really powerful, is to just mindfully check in. And we don't have to eat everything on our plates. It's okay,
Yes.
And like you said, it's empowering to say, oh, I really listened to my needs of my body. My body is my friend and it's telling me what it needs. And I listen to that, and it feels great to do that. And we're giving it just what it needs and not any more or less than it needs. And that's powerful. And it's not listening to like, well, this diet or this pill or this thing says this is what you should do, but it's actually the wisdom of the body, which is so powerful.
It is. The muscle testing actually is a really nice, easy tool to be more in tune with your wisdom, because as that happens, sometimes you might take 2 or 3 bites of food and it's like, that's all I want right now. And it feels so good to know that. And even if you're with a group of people, with friends and family, you can continue to enjoy the the company and so forth, but you don't have to sit there and stuff yourself. Take your meal home if you're away and enjoy it later or something. So it's all about honoring yourself, your best friend, and honoring food as well, and not abusing it.
Ooh, I just want to sit with that. Honoring yourself and honoring food. Food is a gift, right? When I do mindful eating with my clients, it's like, where did this come from? How many people had to work to get me this food here? And where did it grow from? And like just experiencing it as something like wonderful and powerful and not shameful, not the negative that sometimes we say when we have this experience with food where we maybe overate or something like that. So I have a question for you about the people that you've worked with. Now you have your book, but you've also worked with people individually. I've noticed that for a lot of people, what they have this emotional connection to food, and whether that's because of coping skills, right? Like the coping skill is if I'm stressed, then I come home and I eat a thing of ice cream or I get some cookies on the way home. How do you help people that almost have like where it seems like the food becomes almost an addiction or something that they have to go to, right? That there's that emotional connection to it. What do you do with that?
There's usually an underlying emotion, if you will, something in your subconscious. Let's say you're not hungry, but here you are headed to the fridge and you're opening the door for the third time or fourth time in the last hour. It's like, stop for just a minute and say, what is this? What is really going on? What type of a stressor am I feeling right now? Am I worried about my job? Am I bored? It can be just boredom. And so you can actually use muscle testing, and I'm just kind of maybe because I use it every day, all day, but you can test, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Am I angry? Am I sad? Is there something what is going on in my life that really is making me want to use food, eating, chewing, drinking, or something like that in order to medicate? Is not really the word. Some people use the word medicate, but distract. Sometimes it's a distraction, and sometimes it is also a bad habit, and we can get rid of those habits of having something in our mouth all the time and then change to doing something a little better with that. But it can be varied reasons and often trapped emotions. You might have just heard. Anyway, often a trapped emotion from even childhood can be so at the base of it.
Oh, I think that makes a lot of sense. And, for a lot of us, it could be just a habitual thing. Like when we're bored, we go to the fridge, or when we feel discomfort. I was talking to someone earlier today that I recorded another podcast, and we were talking about how we're really uncomfortable with our emotions sometimes, feeling anger or feeling sadness and just sitting with it. And we want something that's going to mask it. And eating feels good for the moment, right? And so we go to that when we need that little, almost like we want to get a little uplift from the food, right? A little.
And sometimes it could be an organ or gland out of balance, like eating a bag of chips late in the afternoon and you've had a stressful day and so forth. It could be your adrenals going, I need some salt, honey, give me some salt. And so you could actually test, is there a food that I'm needing right now that would supplicate me? And often, and instead of like a whole big bunch of like a whole bowl of yogurt or something like that, or just eat a few bites of it, and it's like, that's just what I needed, a taste or something. So.
That makes a whole lot of sense. And it's kind of I do a lot with self-compassion with our health habits, because a lot of times we beat ourselves up about them. And I love that idea of it's okay to give your body what it needs, and it's craving something for a reason. It's not a negative thing that it might be craving chocolate or salt, or there's some aspect of that food that's going to help whatever's going on in your body at that moment. I love that. I think that's really an amazing way to think of it, is that sometimes we do need that comfort from the food, but it may not be the food we're thinking would give us comfort, right?
Sure. Sure. And, if you're used to grabbing, well, let's say Cheetos, for instance, a cheese type of thing, and it's like, I can't live without them. It actually could be a cheese, cheese that you're needing, some kind of enzymes, some kind of nutrition concentrated from cheese. Cheese can be a really good food for some people, and other people it's like, nope, stay away from that. Not so good for you. But yes, and speaking of comfort food, okay, people will say, oh, I know this is bad for me, but, chomp, chomp, chomp. Well, it is bad for you. No matter what it is, you have just told your body, this is bad for me. And you are, but let's say you have this wonderful piece of chocolate cake, okay? It's luscious. I'm really wanting a piece of that, and I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to do it. And then you do it. Okay, you eat the chocolate cake. No, if you really want that, take a bite or two of it. And it's like, this is the best thing on the planet, and this is exactly what I need at this time. And I mean, make the noises, enjoy it, truly enjoy it. You might find, let's say, if you are addicted to chocolate cake, you might find eventually by letting yourself eat it, you only then go for the very best of the chocolate cake, that homemade, really moist kind, and you wouldn't touch a store-bought chocolate cake after that, or whatever. But and maybe it's something in the chocolate you really do need. But enjoy your food. That relationship, if you're sitting with a group of friends, you're not going to give. I mean, how is your relationship with them? Are you saying, I know you're bad for me, I really hate you, but I'm going to be with you anyway? You don't hang around with people like that. You really don't.
Healthy to do that. Yeah.
No. But the same with food. Enjoy. If you're going to eat something, enjoy it bless it first. Okay. No matter what, you don't have to be religious or anything. Give thanks for that. Give thanks for that food and, who grew it or the food itself, whatever. Give thanks for it and then eat it. Enjoy. Know when you're full and know when to stop. Yeah. But anyway, that is it's all about relationship.
Oh, that makes so much sense. As you were talking about that, I was even thinking about the energy of saying, this is bad for me and I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes, not good.
Right. What that energy,
no happy ending there.
Right. What that energy does to you when you're not being true to yourself. Right. Yes. What that's like. And also like when you're saying this is bad and I'm going to put it in me. Instead of saying, the chocolate cake isn't bad, it's what I want right now. I'm going to have some of this. And like you say, the savoring, right? Like I have my clients do this mindful eating where they just eat one piece of chocolate and they just savor it. What's the smell, the texture, what it feels like on your tongue, really just enjoying. And I think we feel guilty if we enjoy our food for some reason, but food can be so enjoyable.
That's true. We need to get back to joy and love with our best friend food again.
I love that. It's all about relationship. That makes so much sense, because relationships that we have with other people, we wouldn't want to be around people that hurt us or are bad for us, right?
No. Yeah. No, or that we really, are false to us.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to look at it. Can you tell us a little bit about someone that you've worked with where you were able to see them transform that relationship with food and how it benefited them?
Yes. As a matter of fact, just this morning, a client of mine that it's been a year since I did her first food code. And she had been, she had suffered with so much just dizziness and a head fog. She had many, many allergies, insensitivities. She couldn't go into like a meeting room, at a hotel or something because of the carpeting or the chemicals. I mean, she had so many imbalances and intolerances, and she had a lot of pain. She had been living on a really strict diet, trying one thing after another. She was told she was gluten intolerant. She had taken all wheat and gluten products out of her diet. She couldn't eat eggs, and you name it. She had an allergy to it. So doing her first food code program for her, one of the things that tested good for her was sourdough bread. And she's going, no, I can't eat gluten or anything. And I said, well, don't eat this then. But, you might test and see if it works for you. Anyway, she found that doing her food code, using her plan, she actually found that sourdough bread agreed with her. And she said, I'm a bread lover. Thank you so much. So she found that she could eat sourdough bread. She actually was able to eat eggs again. She is a body worker, so she works with people doing neuro body work and so forth. And she has a nice clientele. She's back to work, and her life has totally changed around. And she sent me a message this morning. She goes, I was just thinking about you and the freedom that I have now with food. And I want to do and she just has used like about the same food plan for the past year. And she goes, do I need to change this? And I said, yeah, let's do another food plan for you. But she said, I've recently found a baker that I can even get sourdough chocolate cake or sourdough chocolate delights from. Okay. And she said, and my family bought me for my birthday, we had cinnamon rolls, sourdough cinnamon rolls. So sourdough, she wasn't actually gluten intolerant. It was that, and so I'll tell you a little bit about sourdough, because sourdough will break down the components in wheat and actually like pre-digests it. So that's one of the things that I do find and has tested as a really good food for a lot of people that have problems with wheat. And then another person, another example was a woman who has extreme gastric problems, digestive problems, constipation, and extreme pain in her body from her feet to her head. Doing her using her food program, it had very few foods that were in the best category for her. Few neutral ones, but there were several that she needed to stay away from. Working with that for 3 months, and we had to clear emotions in the very beginning so she could even use her program, because she goes, oh my gosh, it's another diet. And her whole body went into panic. And then working with emotions about that and about dieting, she was easily able to stay on her foods, her best foods for the most part. And this is what I tell you too, man, this is the relationship thing. Have a fling now and again with a piece of food. Not just go out on a date maybe with it and enjoy it. But maybe one of the foods
doesn't have to be that strict.
No, it doesn't. So working with that, she actually, her next food plan in 3 months, she was able to eat so many more foods. We've just done that, and she was ecstatic. So, and her pain levels had gone down. She had a broader spectrum of food she could eat that she was very excited about.
I love that. I love that you said it gives people freedom. I think when people think of a diet, they really think of restriction instead of it can give me freedom to enjoy food, to get the food that I need to make me feel good. I love that. So you mentioned that people will come back to you. Do things, you mentioned this too, do things change over time so they can get their food code redone and they can, maybe there's different foods that they need at that time?
Yes, your body, as I mentioned in the beginning, interfacing with food all the time, okay? Interfacing with your environment, so to speak. So as your environment changes, as your body changes from different health states, different foods you can actually look at a food plan and go, oh my goodness, this person needs more of this in their diet, this nutrient from either green vegetables, or they might need something, from different foods, or you can tell if you can actually scan it and see what is going on by the foods that you need to stay away from and the foods that are really your best foods. So you could, if you were to take those foods, look them up. So you can actually be your own nutritionist, and you don't have to know a single thing about a vitamin or a mineral, etc. So you can be your own nutritionist this way by getting your nutrition through food. You can actually test different types of supplements and what you need as well. But does that make sense?
Yeah. So someone could test whatever it is they need at that certain time of their life or at that season or whatever that way. Does anyone ever say to you, well, but those foods that are on my you shouldn't have list are like my favorite foods? Do you ever have that? Yeah.
They do say that. They do say that. As a particular person that I've worked with, she loved wine. She absolutely loved wine. And wine was one of her worst foods. She also had pain. She had weight gain. She had a lot of emotional stuff going on. And I said, well, just try it. Back off a little bit and just see how you do. And she said, using the food program, this was about, I don't know, it was a few weeks. And she goes, you know what? I do not crave wine anymore. I actually have a really expensive bottle of wine. I look at it and it has nothing for me. And she goes, I'm going to give it away as a gift.
Oh, wow.
So those foods that you might be craving, and that are bad for you or not so good, you maybe not crave them anymore.
Wow. So it kind of changes that relationship too.
Yes.
Because maybe you're giving your body what it actually is saying it needs that you thought was what the wine was giving it, right?
Exactly.
But it really needed something different. Yeah, I love that. That's super interesting. Anything else that you've noticed as you work with people that seems to be, a challenge that they have when it comes to really recognizing what food is good for them? Do you ever have, I know I have this with clients where they say, but I don't like any vegetables. I only eat carrots. I don't eat any other vegetable. What do you do when those foods are good for them, but they don't like them? What do you do with that?
I invite them to, now if something tests really good for you, and let's say it's an allergic food for you, well, just don't eat that. Okay. Yeah. Just don't eat that. Look and Google it and see what this particular food, what the nutrition is, because that might be what you're really needing in that food. Okay. So, and foods that maybe are really good for you that you just hate and can't eat, look and see what that nutrition is that you're needing from that particular food, and try eating it in different ways. My mother, for one, with asparagus, she boiled it until it was just mush. I mean, there is no fun in a bowl of mushy asparagus.
Yeah.
Nor deliciousness, but lightly grilled asparagus brings out the sweetness of it. And so eating a food, vegetables, or a food in different ways in there, I mean, the internet is a wealth of how to make carrots palatable, or how to make, broccoli delicious. And actually, one of the ways to make vegetables really delicious and sweet is by grilling or, roasting, and in different raw preparations and you can also test this, because a lot of people say, okay, I need to do a juice cleanse, or I need to do a juicing. Whole foods are what your body wants for the most part. And processed foods, if you think about a whole food like a whole orange compared to a glass of orange juice, you're not getting the same thing there. Orange juice is a processed food. A whole orange is not. So eating a whole food is actually more beneficial for your body as well. So, and eating the better foods. But find out, if you don't really like that food and you're not going to eat it, you can't eat it, what is in it that your body needs in it?
That makes a lot of sense, to look at what those nutrients are. And I love that we need living food, right? Stuff that's come out of the ground. I know there's a whole energy behind when it's been in the ground, whether it's the oranges that were on the tree, that it's that alive food. I love that, because it really makes it flexible and doable for people, that they can try just cooking things in a different way that might taste good for
Yes.
them. I know with one client, I just said, okay, try cooking your broccoli in it, like steaming it. And then she was like, oh, I actually like it that way,
Oh, well, good.
So it's like just kind of being creative and flexible with that. I love this conversation. I think we could talk about this forever.
I think we could.
Is there anything else that that you really help people learn about food?
Well, here's one thing. And again, back to the relationship. Do your best. Do your best, because you don't need to be 100% perfect. Okay. That is one of the things where, well, I'm going to eat all salads now. And then I'm going to eat raw. I'm going to eat all organic. Some days you might be in a situation where you have to go through a fast food place. You might be zooming from one country to another. And what are your options? Not the best. Okay. So my mantra literally is this: do your best and bless the rest. Okay. And bless it in the beginning, but do your best. Okay. And then eat that food with the intention that this is what is the best for me right now, because this is all I've got right now, but do your best. Okay. Don't beat yourself up if you're not following the top of your food plan. Okay. And if you really want one of those things on the bottom, all right, eat some of it and, bless it to be good for you and enjoy it. But do your best. Always just do your best.
Our body is really forgiving. I say that with my clients too. We don't need to, sometimes at the January, New Year's resolutions, it's like all or nothing.
Oh,
I'm going to only eat whole foods and salads from now on, probably because we think that's going to make up for all the cookies and candy we ate in December. But that whole thing it's not sustainable for people.
It's really not.
Yeah.
It's not. And if you're worried about what you're going to eat constantly, some people are worried every day about what they're going to eat or how they're going to restrict themselves from eating. It's a terrible thing. It's really a terrible thing.
You can have fun and relax and enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and your body then will literally relax, and eating your best. I have found so many people, we have such a skewed view of a willow thin body. I have people that are just rounded. Actually, one of the clients that I've worked with, and I think I mentioned her in my book, she says, when I started working with her, she looked like a model. She was absolutely, long, gorgeous blonde hair, very, very thin. And working with her after a while, and actually meeting her finally, she said, look at my belly. And it was rounded. She had put on, I don't know, maybe 20 pounds. And she goes, my body loves this. My belly, I love my belly. I love the feel of it. And anyway, she said she felt so much better with more weight on. So she wasn't constantly dieting, and she was going around choosing her food. She would say, I'd go into the grocery store and I'd go over and just stand in front of the pears and go, oh, this pear field, look at those beautiful pears here. And they almost glow. And what would go with a pear? She goes, then I'd go over here and do that and just plan a whole meal by walking through the store and choosing which foods felt good to go together. So anyway.
I love that. That's really tuning into the energy of the food with your own energy, right? And kind of seeing what feels good. And I could talk forever about the whole body image thing because that's one of my passions, going through it as a child where I didn't think my body was okay the way it was. But, I think that's really powerful to kind of say, am I listening to myself or am I listening to media and society and what they're saying? Because maybe where my body is the most optimal health isn't what society is showing us is optimal, right? Or is what is idealistic kind of a thing. I love that, and we're all unique and know what everybody's body is different and what it needs and what it even looks like,
We have different structures. Some of us have larger arms naturally. Some of us have tiny little arms. The same with legs and bellies. Some of us have longer torsos. So we might pack more weight on and looks thinner. A person with a short torso is rounded. And so, yes, we have to take much into consideration. But respect and love are two of the key issues for our own body.
I love that. I'm actually thinking about a book that would go perfectly with yours that I'm going to write.
All right, let's collaborate.
Yeah, about just self-compassion and love and respecting our body. I think that goes right along with this. This has been such an amazing conversation, and I hope everybody that as you listen to this, you can improve your relationship with food. You can love food and really learn how to listen to yourself and improve that relationship. We're going to take another quick break. And when we get back, Lana, I would love for you to share with us, I call it our Words of Wisdom segment of what words would you have for people going forward who maybe have always struggled with, being really in a bad relationship with food, in a negative relationship with food.
Does your daughter worry about how her body looks? Is she constantly comparing herself to others? Many teens struggle with a negative view of their bodies. They may want to change the way they look because they feel their bodies are deficient. A negative view of your body can lead to depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and a poor self-image. This is true for women of all ages. The way we feel about our bodies can change. We can improve our confidence and self-esteem by embracing our unique beauty. It's time to reject negative messages about beauty and love yourself for who you are and what your body can do. Join Flourish Wellness Consulting for our first Love and Respect Your Body Mother and Daughter Retreat, May 16th through the 18th, 2019, in beautiful Eden, Utah. During this 3-day retreat, you will connect to your body, practice health and self-care, connect with your daughter and nature, and learn to create a positive body image. Each day will consist of self-care spa time, including massage, healthy eating, energy work, yoga, and time in the outdoors. Make it a Mother's Day getaway. Embrace your unique beauty and discover the power of your body. Register by March 17th for early bird pricing at flourishwellnessconsulting.com under live events, or email Camille@flourishwellnessconsulting.com to save your spots. This May is the time to make peace with your body and like who you are for good.
Welcome back, everybody, to Wellness Wisdom. We're having a great conversation about food, and this is a happy, good conversation. I'm meeting with Lana Nelson, who has a program that she does for people where it really looks at intuitive eating through knowing what your body needs at specific times. It's called the Food Codes, and I love this. It's really connected to energy work and intuition, and that one food isn't bad versus another. I love it. It's just so I know that Lana found me, and we are supposed to be friends because we totally see things the same. But Lana, before the break, I asked you if you would kind of share with us a couple of tips that you would have for people who maybe have struggled with their relationship with food. Where would you have them start?
The first thing is love yourself, learning to love yourself again, because with dieting, we a lot of us have and have had since our grandmothers and earlier than that been groomed to diet. And so releasing that diet mentality and learning to knowing that we have a relationship with ourselves and a relationship with food, and stop judging would be a really big key. Stop judging yourself. Learn how to stop that judging, seeing looking in the mirror and saying, you're beautiful anyway. Okay, so the stopping the judging, but also stop judging food. Stop judging food, because we hear from this expert or that expert. This is good for you. That's good for you. That's bad for you. This is good for you. No, stop the judging. Find out what it is that your body really needs for your best health. Think about this relationship and come back to balance with that. And I love to say, do your best and bless the rest. So have gratitude and be grateful for food. And if you can't eat your best at that time, really enjoy whatever you're eating, okay? Enjoy it, but do your best. and bless the rest.
Oh, that feels so freeing, doesn't it? It's just letting go of the angst around food, the shame, the negative, just to love yourself and allow food to nurture you. I love that. So thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us today. If people want to get your book,
thank you,
or learn more of what you're doing, what's the best way for them to find you?
Pretty simple. Go to The Food Codes, TheFoodCodes, thefoodcodes.com. And I've got a great blog there. You can find out a lot more information. You can find out how to order my book. And also I've got some nice videos and so forth teaching you some techniques on digestion and more. So I've got a lot of good info there, thefoodcodes.com.
Yeah, and I looked at it right before our call, and I was like, well, this is really good. I'm going to have to come back to this. This is awesome. So is the book out officially on Amazon?
It is available. It's on Amazon. You betcha. Okay. And I would love if you would give me a comment on Amazon, too, about my book.
Oh, wonderful. That
will help the word get out.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you so much for joining us today, and just helping us learn to love ourselves through loving food and recognizing our relationship to food, and that it can be a positive, nurturing, happy relationship, just like those relationships that we value most in our lives, right? So everybody, I hope as you listen to this, you can really tune into yourself, make peace with your body, and like who you are. Take care, everybody.
This is the EWN Podcast Network.